of Philadelphia. I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gargano Show.
It is showtime. Happy Friday, TGIF. Welcome into the Anthony Gargano Show, presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. TrueMark, you can check them out at truemark.com/PHLY or stop into your local branch and learn more about the credit union that makes a difference at TrueMark Financial today. I am not Anthony Gargano. I'm Renee Washington. Excited to be sitting in for Cuz. I've got JP Zapata, Andrew Frazier. The crew is all here this Friday. We've got a lot of great guests joining us today as well, as we're going to get into Best Bets with Brad. We've got Tyler Zulli joining us to talk Penn State football. We'll talk some college football. Colorado, looking at you. Also, with the NFL season kicking off in less than a week, we've got our very own Bo Wulf from PHLY Eagles podcast tuning in to give us some updates from the Eagles, and then we'll talk some things NFL and the Phillies. We've got Jim Salsbury joining us. Jimmy Stakes will be on as we talk through the Phillies' series opening win over the Braves last night and look ahead and talk more about that, as well as fantasy football. Lots to get into today, as we have plenty to talk about around the sports world. Now, first thing, though, I want to talk through some heartbreaking news out of the NHL. Regardless of who you're a fan of, regardless of who your team is, your sport, you hate to hear devastating news like the news we heard this morning. Johnny Gaudreau, the NHL star, Columbus Blue Jackets forward Johnny, and his brother Matthew unfortunately passed away in a biking accident in New Jersey. Now, they were reportedly set to be groomsmen in their sister's wedding Friday, today, and it's devastating to hear Gaudreau, just 31 years old, and his brother Matthew passed away. I know the NHL officially released a statement, and you hate to hear stories and news like this come out. You're supposed to be excited, getting ready to celebrate a wedding, having a great moment with your family, and instead they lost two loved ones. So our hearts and condolences go out, and prayers go out to the Gaudreau family at this devastating time, and hopefully they get space. They're still people, guys. Let's hopefully they get the space that they need to try to make sense and try to heal through this tough time. Because JP, Andrew, my heart sank when I was like reading the news and the updates about it.
Yeah, so this morning, I obviously started seeing some rumors circulate last night, and you just don't want to believe it because that's just absolutely heartbreaking. And then this morning, getting ready for the show, as I do, we have some TVs here, popped on some Sports Center, and boom, I see the bright red breaking news, and it's Johnny Gaudreau, and I just couldn't believe it, Renee. Like, obviously, Johnny, close to home, South Jersey hockey star, made his name in the NHL, was remarkable, especially for all of us South Jersey kids seeing him in the NHL. And then a couple years ago, we had an opportunity to bring him back home to Philly, and it just didn't pan out. But we've always had that rooting interest towards Johnny hockey. And this morning, that's super heartbreaking. Renee, like, I can maybe like Kobe, Jose Fernandez, those were like the deaths in sports that really shook me. Like, Andrew was just like wondering like what was wrong with me. Like, if I was tired, I was like, no, dude, this truly just shook me. Like, that news shook me. A young star player. You brought up the fact that his sister was going to get married this weekend. You know, I just went through that now. Like, I couldn't even imagine preparing for a wedding and then finding out your sibling just passed away. So truly, thoughts and prayers go out to the Gaudreau family. But this is not the news we wanted to wake up to on a Friday morning, Renee.
Yeah, not good to hear that accident last night has his whole family rocked. The sports world rocked. And I know you guys in the chat are, sharing your condolences and your thoughts. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So rest in peace to Johnny, his brother Matthew, and it just takes you back. There's so many names. We could spend an entire 2 hours talking about when we lose anybody too soon, and a tragedy like this, an accident, it doesn't make sense. But, hearts and condolences and prayers go out to the Gaudreau family at this tough time. And now, to do my best attempt to try to segue out of that, let's talk sports. Let's talk some things that are going on, because we are getting, and we'll have our very own Bo Wulf on with us to talk some around the NFL. Less than 1 week, guys, until the NFL season kicks off. It opens up with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. It's an AFC Championship rematch. We all remember what happens last season, postseason. I was rooting for the Ravens to beat the Chiefs because I didn't want a Taylor Swift Super Bowl, but we still got one anyways. And that was the night Travis Kelce passed Jerry Rice's career receptions for postseason receptions. We also saw the Ravens have a touchdown in the first quarter, Lamar to Zay Flowers, and then their offense disappeared the rest of the game until we saw Justin Tucker's late 43-yard field goal, and we saw the Chiefs win that game. And now they get a matchup again Week 1, Thursday night, prime time. I know Lamar Jackson said he's lost a lot of weight, actually. He's 15 pounds lower than his weight last year, 30 pounds in 2022. He's dropped significant weight this offseason. He said that game was a game that, like, he looked back on that play, that highlight play of the self-pass. And in that moment, even though we were all like, that was an incredible top play, you caught your own pass off the tip, he looked at it as, no, it wasn't good enough. I should have been able to run with all the green I had in front of me. I should have been able to get a nice, at least some more yards, if not a touchdown off of that play. So Lamar Jackson lost some weight, and he's going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs Thursday. JP, I don't know about you. I'm so excited for football season. It's been a long time in the making. This offseason's been a fun one, and I'm just ready to get back to it.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people know me as like the soccer person, but like what a lot of people don't realize is that football was my first love. And around this time, Renee, like I get super excited. Like the leaves start turning. Yes, pumpkin spice does come into play here as well. A lot of the autumn fall colors come into play too. But
been living it every day.
Yeah.
Andrew's got 2 weeks.
Andrew's got to deal with it bad, but. Football is back. Football, like the fact that football is back, it gets me so excited. We just had some college football in the past week, obviously last night and last Saturday, some big games being played. But no, it's the excitement. This is why fall is my favorite time of year. And right, we got some, listen, we've been waiting for football for so long. We had some good, exciting matchups, especially during prime time slots as well. You just mentioned the Chiefs and Ravens rematch of a great AFC championship. And honestly, for the Ravens, that AFC North, I feel like it's gonna be a battle between them and the Bengals all the way down the stretch. So we'll see how they start off. But then you go into Friday with us and the Packers, and then you look at Sunday night. A lot of people are high on the Rams. They're going up against the Lions, who people have high expectations for this year. And then on Monday night, we'll see. Last year, the Jets started on prime time. It didn't pan out too well for them in the season. They're going up against the 49ers. So really good matchups here for all of us football fans, not only just in college, but especially in the NFL. And it's here, Renee.
It's here, guys. We are less than a week away. Of course, we are 1 week away from the Eagles opener. In the chat, I know we got some love, plenty of people here. Flyers and 7, Casper, Joseph, James, Ed, K-Red. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. We are less than a week away from the NFL season kicking off. We did get college football kicking off. We'll get there soon, later in the show, I should say. But as you mentioned, the excitement, like, a team like the Bengals, who actually I have predicted to do, I think Joey Burrow, platinum blonde Joe Burrow, a healthy Bengals team is actually going to be one to keep an eye on with a real Joe Slim Shady. Please stand up. But it is that time of year. I know in the chat you guys are talking about like the breeze this morning. I had to bring out like long sleeves. I was like, can I wear a full-on turtleneck? I'm wearing like a fake turtleneck. I'm like, I need to crawl into this, but it is pumpkin season, guys. But let's not move too fast ahead of ourselves. So with that being said, though, it's time to start getting back into our EAGLES Eagles, because Friday kicks off in Brazil. We're so excited to see this matchup against the Green Bay Packers, because you get a chance to go up against a team from week 1 that, as we saw last year with the Packers, they were a young team. They were the youngest team in the playoffs, and they had a great run. Love that they knocked off the Cowboys. We all enjoyed that moment. But then also they had that devastating loss to the 49ers that they should have won, where their youth completely was a factor. And you could see it with the plays that they made, the turnovers that they had, similar to the Ravens, got into a big moment and folded under pressure a little bit. And so for the Packers to come into this matchup, and this be the team that the Eagles play week 1, this is a playoff matchup, a potential playoff team. You're not easing into the season. We already know the schedule's crazy, the travel, the prime time that the Eagles are slotted into. You have a Brazil matchup. This is the first time ever that the NFL is going to be playing in Brazil. And you're going up against a team that from week 1 is going to test you. You know, the Packers last year were the first team across the NFL to make the playoffs, having won 3 or less games in their first 9 games of the season, which I didn't even realize. A crazy stat. They got better as the season went on. Yeah. And I am for sure certain that they're going to bring that into the start of this season. It should carry over. So for this Eagles team that we've all been excited about with all the changes that they have, it's a great test from the opener. You're going to get an opportunity to see what they've got. You know, we're all looking forward to seeing what's Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith offense going to look like. What's the defense going to look like? What's the coordinators and the play calling going to look like? And we get that test from week 1.
Yeah, obviously a lot of question marks after last year's collapse. So a lot of people want to see what this Eagles team's going to do. Obviously, some people have their hot takes on the Philadelphia Eagles as well, which we will definitely ignore. But I love this matchup here for the Birds because, like you mentioned, Packers, a young team who last year, that's what young teams do, right? They improve throughout as the season goes on, especially in that first year. And now in year 2, essentially, for Jordan Love and company, in Brazil, I'll be honest with you, Renee, I didn't feel too confident about the Birds heading down to Sao Paulo. Okay. But after hearing some of the guys and their reactions towards playing in Brazil, I actually feel confident because, listen, they're not happy. So that could bode very well for the Birds. So you go down there a little bit pissed off and you take it out on the Green Bay Packers. So it's some really good matchups. You mentioned the coordinators. That was a big conversation last year. The collapse. A lot of the guys did not trust those coordinators. Everyone talked about, and obviously it was the downgrade from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia, which
still makes no sense.
Yeah, it was definitely possible. But I want to see, you mentioned Kellen Moore, I want to see him implement his system with how that's going to look in week 1 here against the Packers. I want to see that defense. I want to see how Vic Fangio, how he does those play calls. There's a lot of question marks on that defense. A lot of people want to know about that blitzing. So there are some question marks that we're going to find out here in week 1. But the big narrative the past day is no one wants to play in Brazil.
Nobody wants to play in Brazil.
We don't want this game. How do you feel about this?
No, listen, I love the fact that it's not even just the NFL. We see this. We just saw the Phillies in London. We see it across leagues. The NBA has been leading and been a big part of expanding, have those international games. It's the growth of where sports are going, where they want to have these opportunities to put the best product on display in other countries. Obviously, the NFL has been playing in other countries. Brazil is just the first. The issue around Brazil is just the fact that the conditions aren't great. It's not ideal. It's not safe. And that's something that the players even were told, like, here's rules of what you can and can't do. You're not here as a fan or as a tourist. You're here to play. It's a business trip. Because you can't just go wandering off the same way that maybe the Phillies, like Bryce Harper and Kyle, were able to wander around London. Yeah. So I do think safety's got to be first. And honestly, beyond just even the safety concerns in Brazil, it's the actual concerns around what does this mean that week 1 on a Friday you are playing in Brazil, and then you have to turn around and then how does that affect the rest of the season? Because, and I hate to keep bringing up the Phillies, but we just saw this with them in London. The Phillies still haven't, they're still getting right after the London series. When you travel across the pond, when you travel and you're playing internationally, it's a different time zone. Point. It's a lot of just miles from the beginning of the season now. That's a little concerning. Yeah. And so these are 2 young teams. You look at, I know we talked about the youth of the Packers, Jordan Love, who's getting his first season to start. For both of these teams, you're starting out, I hate to say it, a little bit of a disadvantage. Not everybody doesn't have to worry about that. Kansas City's playing Thursday night at home. They're sleeping in their beds. Whereas the Eagles have to worry about traveling and then resetting. And it's not like you have a lot of time to waste in football. Every week is so important. And we've seen it come down to one game being the difference. So I'm a little concerned about that part of it. I do want to give it's sad news to hear about James Bradberry, because I love the fact that Bradberry spoke up and said, listen, I wasn't great last year as a corner. I want to be able to help this team in the secondary. Maybe I can help as a safety. He was reported to possibly, he just made the roster and then gets hurt and has a leg injury days after making the roster. Does not need surgery, but is going to be out for a substantial amount of time. Is James Bradberry a guy that was going to make or break this team? No, but James Bradberry was a guy that was going to give you some depth. He's a veteran. He's a leader. He's a Pro Bowler. And he's someone that was doing what he felt like was best for the team to help in a role as a safety, and then to hear that major blow that you're not going to have him as a regular piece of the secondary at all now is, for the time seeing, is a little frustrating. But I do feel like this team, what I hope is that they're built to last the injuries. Injuries are going to happen. Oh yeah, it's a long season, and I think last year what we saw, they were aging. They had some veterans. We love Fletcher, we love Jason, but they had some veterans. They had some older guys. They were able to get younger in a lot of places this year. They were able to get a lot of depth in places this year, especially on the D-line. And I think that is something that has me encouraged about this season the most, because you need to be able to rely on more guys than just Jalen.
Right. That's a good.
Be honest.
No, you're absolutely right. But real quick to your point about Brazil, because you did bring up some good points there. Yes, this is what, half a day of travel about? Now, obviously, they're not doing the connecting flight.
Easy.
Obviously, our man, Zach Berman here at PHLY Eagles, he's got to stop in Miami, then go all the way down to Sao Paulo. But, Like, that is a long flight, and that's no one likes being. And obviously, they have more comfortable accommodations,
For sure.
but no one wants to be in an airplane for 12 plus hours. So that is definitely the number one factor. You come back, and you mentioned it. Football is not like baseball. Like, you need that full week of practice. Like, we always complain about, going from Thursday to Sunday the next week. Like or Sunday to Thursday the next week. That's grueling as well. And also the reports yesterday, Renee, like, there was wildfires in Sao Paulo. We all know the lingering factors of that. And now we have terrible breathing conditions. So it is not really suiting up for a good international game. And you know me, I do love these. I love when we go to Mexico City. I love when we go to London or when we go to Munich or Berlin or wherever we go in Europe. I love those games because I think the problem with the NFL is that we only love it here in America. I always bring up the story where I go to Colombia and I ask someone to put the football game on, and they were like, why do you want to watch football? Like, it's awesome. That's why I want to watch football. But we need to continue growing the game, but it just doesn't feel like this is working out in the right way. We'll see. We have next week to kind of dive into that. But yeah, the Bradbury news, it's interesting because, I put it out on the Gargano show account and people were like, this is not really that big of news. I'm like, guys, do you see the depth that we have at safety? Depth. You can't even trust CJ Gardner-Johnson to stay healthy. You can't trust Avonte Maddox to stay healthy. Like, we need the bodies. And James Bradbury, although I know people they're tired, they're fatigued, they're Taijuan Walker, they're Tobias Harris when it comes to James Bradbury.
Not Taijuan.
And I completely understand that. But guys, you need bodies, especially a veteran guy who's been in this league for a minute. He has some cornerback experience, and we've seen a lot of times veteran guys who make the move from corner to safety. It's a flawless move. So I was enjoying seeing Bradbury being a depth piece at the safety position. Hard to kind of go away or get rid of that contract too. So that's definitely some grueling news. But I'm intrigued by this defense. It's one thing I want to talk to Bo today about. There's a lot of youth on that defense, Renee.
Yeah.
And we know on paper this offense should put up points, right? Like, especially Kellen Moore has been known to, put up numbers, especially he calls good plays, especially in the run game as well. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's more so the defense, the interior, where the sack's going to come from, right? I think the cornerback room, I really, this is the strongest cornerback room we've had since probably my childhood. So like that's really cool to see. But again, the safety depth is an issue too. So there are a lot of question marks, and we're going to find out a lot here this week.
We will. And to your point, with James Bradbury, for instance, injuries are. You don't want injuries at this point in the season. We haven't even had an official game yet. You need depth, you need pieces, and you want it to be a situation of the guys beating each other out for a position, not an injury taking someone out of the equation. Really quickly before we bring on Bo, though, who are you looking forward to this season for the Eagles? Who do you think is a guy you're keeping an eye on the most? Just one, because there's a lot of guys on the team, but who's one that's kind of most exciting for you to watch?
I'm going to bring this up because I don't think anyone's talking about this, but I think Bryce Huff as a free agent, we've had some luck in free agency. I know it's been slow training camp, but I love the motor I love the stuff that he showed with the Jets. Motor was a question that I heard about as well. But something about passers who come here in Philadelphia, especially free agent, they thrive. And we'll see. And obviously, guys, we need some sacks. Hassan Reddick, I know down year last year, but that was a loss for sure. Can't always rely on Josh Sweat. So I think Bryce Huff is someone that I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and let us know in the chat who you guys are looking forward to. For me, it's Jalen. I know it's a very cliche answer, but when you think about Jalen's emergence as a leader of this team, this is the year that the team has to come and go as Jalen does.
No, Kelsey's big too.
No Kelsey. This is the first time he's going to have in his NFL career that Jalen is not going to have Jason Kelsey in front of him. We also know he's had injuries that last year attributed to him not being able to use his legs as much. He's got more offensive targets. He also just in general should have a healthier season because I think for Kellen Moore, the play calling will be better where you don't have to overextend Jalen too soon.
Oh, yeah.
Not to mention, when you look at the numbers of what Jalen Hurts was able to do over the last years, if we can get more confidence, more consistency, more of a veteran Jalen Hurts, I think this team is going to be in a great spot. They've got better pass protection.
Oh, yeah.
He's got better options. The O-line as a whole should look better because at times it felt like there was nobody out there to help him. So I'm excited to see what Jalen can bring because it's a plan for the future. And you know what, guys? There's a spot you can always plan for your futures with our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Let me tell you guys about TrueMark Financial Credit Union, the spot you can go to make sure to always take care of anything you're planning for with your future. They've got the debit card with rewards. They've got lower rates, better fees. They also have opportunities for you to take advantage of planning by being able to access your credit score. And so TrueMark Financial Credit Union is providing tons of opportunities when you head to truemark.com/PHLY to make sure to stay ahead, planning for whatever you're looking to do in the future, house buying, college, looking to buy a car, looking for that vacation. I know in the chat you guys are talking about vacations and traveling. And also TrueMark is having a great event, a pickleball tournament, a charitable pickleball tournament, September 7th, my birthday, the day after the Eagles play, also my birthday. Did I say that? Where they're going to be having a pickleball tournament that you guys can attend as well. For those of you interested, it's the same partnership as we had with our golf outing. It's now going to be a pickleball event out in Ambler, Pennsylvania at the Upper Dublin Sports Center from 1:30 to 5 p.m. They're going to have a round robin, fun, non-competitive tournament in that sense. And you're going to be able to have a certified pickleball pro on staff that can help if you have any questions. So you don't have to worry about being experienced. They will be able to teach you how to play pickleball. They'll also have paddles and balls for you there as well. So that way you can get all the teaching, all the learning right there at the Sports Center in Upper Dublin. And then also the cost to play, $50. So $50, it benefits the charity. They're going to have swag bags from TrueMark, but also we'll have some swag bags from PHLY. And if you wanted to get your company involved, there's sponsorship opportunities as well. And maybe you don't even want to play pickleball. You just want to support. That is also fine. We'll have music, food trucks. They're going to also have 50-50 raffles, prize giveaways, tons of fun for you, beer trucks, food as well. And all the proceeds are going to be going to benefit, or majority of them to benefit the charity. So if you are interested in playing in the tournament today, when you sign up at truemark.com/PHLY pickleball, you get a 10% discount on registration. That's right. Go sign up today as a PHLY friend and part of the family here. You get a 10% discount with truemark.com/PHLY pickleball.
I love it, Renee. All right, we got to ask the important question. Frazier, did your girlfriend hit you this morning from your snoring?
Not this morning.
Not this morning?
No,
All right.
I was
I'm
good.
glad.
I was good last night.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad you survived last night, man. Well, listen, a lot of people like Frazier are in the same boat, right? And we snore. It happens. Like my grandma, my abuela Fabiola, love her to death. Love you, abuela. But who woke me up every summer when I was in Colombia, sleeping in your house, sleeping in the next room next to your room? That snore was not fun, abuela. But listen, my abuela and you guys, if you have the snoring problem too, you need Sleep Healthy PA, all right? Because Sleep Healthy PA is helping a bunch of Philadelphia residents right now stop the snore. That's the key, stopping the snore, all right? And Dr. Andrew Cohen, he's a board certified in dental sleep medicine, and his staff, they're working one-on-one with all these residents to provide first-class care and meet the needs to help you stop the snore, all right? Sleep apnea, we all heard of it. It's not fun. We've seen those machines, okay? You look like you're on your deathbed. We don't want you guys to look like you're dying there. We want you guys to enjoy your sleep and look like a nice, peaceful angel, all right? Every single night.
Oh, no.
So, but it's important to know what causes sleep apnea, right? There's a choke point in the throat that causes snoring. It's that simple. So that's what Dr. Andrew Cohen and his team are helping you guys here today to stop the snore. If you are experiencing sleep apnea and you're looking for a custom solution to stop that snore, reach out to Dr. Andrew Cohen here today at sleephealthy.com, or if you'd like, you can call him 215-337-2501, and you guys as well can stop the snore, and make sure you let them know that PHLY sent you. But stop the snore here today with our friends over at Sleep Healthy PA.
Poor Gam Gam was just trying to get some sleep, and JP's ripping her over here.
I love Abuela. But
Abuela can't even defend herself right now. But you know who can defend themselves? That's our guy, Bo Wulf, with the updates on the Eagles. So we've got the big story presented by TrueMark, and with that, we welcome from our PHLY Eagles beat, Bo Wulf, the man, the legend, not the myth. Bo, listen, the roster's been announced. The practice roster's also even come out. All the details are coming together to set us up for the season opener against the Packers in Brazil. What's the latest from around the Philadelphia Eagles that you can share with us of what's new?
A week from today is the season opener in Sao Paulo. Yeah, it's an exciting, different than what it might be like for them in years past at this time, because the game is earlier. They have to sort of flip the switch to game preparation a little bit earlier than other teams in the league. And they made a little move yesterday, claiming defensive tackle Byron Young off waivers from the Raiders, and then waived Marlon Tuipulotu. Just a little switch on the defensive tackle rotation, but otherwise, James Bradbury goes down with an injury. I don't think that they were expecting James Bradbury to play or be active week one, so that doesn't necessarily change what we think about that week 1 game. It's going to be all about, how does this offense look? And I know you guys were talking about it before I came on, but Jalen Hurts and Cam Jurgens, making the pre-snap reads. They have not done that in live game action yet. So the first time they do it will be in the regular season. The same goes for the operation of Kellen Moore calling in plays and being the guy in Jalen Hurts' ear. They have not done that in game situations. So that will be the first time we see that. And then this new offense where we expect a little bit more motion, a little, hopefully better answers against the blitz. Jalen Hurts has to prove that he can do that. I imagine that the Packers are going to be coming out week 1, sending all kinds of sort of funky stuff at him to test his ability to get the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
So, Bo, obviously we saw yesterday Devontae and AJ speaking to the media. Didn't seem too pleased with going down to Brazil. We got some reports about some wildfires as well. What's the consensus right now with the team going down to Brazil? It doesn't seem like, at least from those two, not big fans of Brazil so far.
Well, Devontae, not a big fan. AJ was more sort of, spouting that they had a meeting the night before about all the don'ts that they were, supposed to have in mind in Brazil. Don't do this. Don't walk around with your phone out. All this. JP, feels a little scare tactic-y to me. I was in Brazil this summer. I didn't feel like I was unsafe. Like, let's calm down a little bit. I feel like they're going a little bit too far with, watch out for what's going to happen in Brazil if you're outside your hotel. Calm down.
Obviously, I obviously don't. I've never been to Brazil myself, but what especially I just had a wedding in Colombia with my family, and I had friends here come down, and we would wander around the city in Cali, and I just tell people just mind your business. You'll be fine. You're with me. You're good.
Just be aware of your surroundings, like anywhere else in the world.
Correct. Just like if you're in Philly.
Yeah, come on. Exactly.
No different.
Come on.
Bad
things happen everywhere. But the one thing that I will say is they are. That messaging reflects that they are treating this like, the quote unquote business trip. It's a 10-hour flight, which is a long way to go for a game. Thankfully, it's like only one time zone difference, but they are not doing like sightseeing stuff while they're there. They are going there. They're staying at the hotel. It's like an hour and a half drive to the stadium. They're going to do their little practice their walk through the day before. They're going to go play the game and they're going to fly back. They are not treating this like an ambassadorship. They're going there to play a game.
I like that. It is a business trip, and this is not a time to be tourists. This is a time to lock in and kick off the season the right way. Now, I know you were mentioning, Bo, about the offense, because that is a huge question mark around how is Kellen Moore going to, be able to work through with this much talent, the addition of Saquon, you have Jalen, you have AJ, you have Devontae, getting them all touches, getting them all involved. But I'm also curious about the defense, because last year we saw stretches, especially towards the end of the regular season and against, when you look at that playoff matchup against Tampa Bay, we saw stretches where they looked like, I hate to say it, but to be blunt, cones. We saw tackles getting broken. We saw a lot of gaps in the D-line. And you have Vic coming in, meshing with a whole new group, including a lot of youth. What are your thoughts on the defensive side of how they're progressing to be better able to read, the game and be a little bit more cohesive, where we don't have as many, letdowns and moments where the D-line just looks absent, honestly.
Yeah, they were like the worst defense in football at the end of the season last year, and the numbers bear that out. Over the course of the season, I think they were 29th in defensive DVOA. So this was a very bad defense last year, and they lost who I think was their best player on defense last year, and Fletcher Cox. So there's a lot of work to be done. I have framed the Vic Fangio hiring as more about raising the floor of the defense than necessarily raising the ceiling. So there's a degree of competency that you didn't have last year when it was Sean Desai. He's sort of having a tough draw, and then Matt Patricia coming in, who has a bad track record as a defensive coordinator, and he would say that it wasn't even his defense. So that was a disaster. Now you have this guy who has been a defensive coordinator for a very long time. He's no frills. And they have a bunch of youth, as you said. The defensive line, I think, is the biggest question mark, because there's real upside that they could be good. Like Jalen Carter, I am expecting a monster season from Jalen Carter. I'm expecting him to be the best player on the defense, arguably the best player on the team. I think the ceiling is that high. I think this should be a monster season for him. And if he is that, and Bryce Huff comes along and delivers what he delivered last year for the Jets, just at a slightly higher volume, and if Jordan Davis takes a little bit of a step, and if Josh Sweat is a little bit more like the guy he was in the first half of the season than the second half of the season, then I think their pass rush can be very good. I think the linebackers are probably mediocre at best, but better than they were last season. And then the secondary, there's a lot of upside here, and it's going to take some time, I think, because you're talking about Quinion Mitchell, who's a rookie, Isaiah Rodgers, who is injured right now. We don't know the injury yet, but has been away from football for a year. Keely Ringo is a second-year player. Cooper DeJean is a rookie. All of these guys may take some time to coalesce, but I think there is hope that by the end of the season, that can be a really, really good unit.
I'll say.
Bo, I don't know what it is. I'm so high on Bryce Huff for this upcoming season, and it may be a little bit because of our luck we've had with some free agency in our history, especially more recently.
Eagles have been good in free agency. You're right.
But like all I heard from his time with the Jets, like he's got some good tools. Motor was an issue at times, but like, what do you see from Bryce Huff where he could potentially be one of those surprise free agency pickups again for us?
Yeah, I mean, he's being paid to be their best pass rusher, and I think there's real expectation that he should be. I mean, on a per snap basis last year, he was one of the most efficient pass rushers in the NFL. Now, some of that is a little bit weighted because he was mostly on the field on third down in pass rushing situations, and he was part of a good group, so it's not like he was the number one target of opposing offensive game plans. But if he is just a little bit less efficient at a much higher volume, then he's gonna have a double-digit sack season and be their most prolific pass rusher. There were questions early in camp. Vic said, he's not quite there yet when it comes to being a 3-down player and playing against the run. I think he'll be fine there, and I think they have other people to cover for him if not. I would agree that my expectations are pretty high for Bryce Huff this season, and I think you saw over the course of camp, it was similar to Hassan Reddick's first season in Philadelphia, that early in camp, it was like, wow, this guy's not doing much, and then you remember that he's going up against Lane Johnson all the time, and not anybody does anything against Lane Johnson, and so then you go to the joint practice against the Patriots, and Bryce Huff has a monster day. He plays in that game, looks good. I think Bryce Huff should be pretty good.
I like it. All right, Bo. So my question to you, because this is my last main question I have for you. We talk so much about the bigger name players for the Eagles, Jalen, Lane, AJ, the list goes on and on. But there are other guys that I hopefully need to, as you talk about raising the floor, are going to take that step this season, are going to be able to help out, be more consistent, whether it's in pass rushing, whether it's pass protection, whatever it is on either side of the ball. Special teams is the only area that we don't have to really worry as much about the consistency. So in terms of a guy that you're keeping an eye on, who do you feel like so far, it's very, very early, but with this week 1 matchup that's going to have a potential playoff type of a matchup, and looking at the Packers-Eagles, there's no easing in. This is a tough schedule, and you're going to need depth, and you're going to need other pieces to step up. Who do you think is a guy for us to keep an eye on that you've seen so far that you're pretty high on and encouraged with how they've been looking?
Well, it's not necessarily that I have been encouraged by what I've seen, but I think that Dallas Goedert is sort of like the bellwether for how good this offense is. In 2022, he was awesome, and he was like the best tight end in the league at yards after catch. He was the key to what made them successful on offense because they were able to, when they were in 11 personnel, right? So just one tight end on the field, 3 wide receivers. They were the best running team in football when they did that because of Dallas Goedert is such a good blocker. And then when they went heavy, when they went 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers, they were the best passing team in football because Dallas Goedert is such a good receiver. He's such a good all-around tight end. Last year, he was a little bit banged up, and that like superpower of yards after the catch was not there in the offense. Maybe that is Goddard. Maybe that was the lack of creativity in the offense. I'm hoping that for Eagles fans, Kellen Moore has that in mind. That said, I didn't think it was like the greatest summer for Dallas Goedert. I don't think that he was like making plays every day in camp, and he also was dealing with an injury. So he is a player who is a little bit older, I think 29 years old. And so this is a player who, to me, is like, I'm expecting A.J. Brown to have a great season. I'm expecting Devontae Smith to have a great season. We'll see what Saquon Barkley does. But if Dallas Goedert has a great season, then I would believe that the Eagles have a top 3, top 5 offense.
And we saw how they looked when he went down. He's a big piece that we don't talk enough about.
Yeah, definitely prime for a big season here. Bo, so obviously you brought it up earlier. starters, a handful of starters did not play a lot of preseason snaps, right? And one thing going into this year after last year's collapse, I wanted to see the starters play just a little bit more in those preseason games. Then it's hard to argue because obviously, look, it's worked in the past couple years. They've been pretty successful overall. But for you, is that any concern of yours that they haven't really, a lot of these starters haven't really played a lot of preseason snaps?
It's not really, just because you think of like the cost benefit and the reason that they didn't play was to keep him healthy, and everybody's healthy. Like that is the most important thing. Now Vic Fangio was a little bit different on defense. He wanted guys to play. All the starters played, right? He's an old school guy, and they didn't. Nobody of significance suffered a serious injury. So there's a case to be made for that as well. We'll see if they're a little bit out of sorts week one. I tend to think that you'll see that more like week 2, week 3, week 4, because you have so much time to prepare for week one that you have like this special game plan ready, right? And so I think they should be pretty buttoned up in Sao Paulo. We'll see the next couple weeks after that. I wouldn't have been surprised if we saw a series from the offense just because of all the new moving parts, but it's not something that I'm super concerned about.
Okay.
All right. All right. Well, Bo, 1 week. And then it all gets started. We get a chance to see how the Eagles look in all 3 phases of the game in meaningful game action. And again, a great week 1 matchup against a young Packers team that's coming off of some valuable postseason experience last year. I'm excited. I'm sure you're thrilled, Bo. It's always a pleasure seeing your fantastic work. What are your final thoughts as we send you out of here on, people to get there's no extra hype needed to get excited for week 1. But final thoughts on the Eagles as we send you out for the day.
Yeah, you're just 1 week away. It's crazy that it has come so quickly. So we're looking forward to it. We've got the PHLY Eagles show today at 2:00 with Zach Berman and our friend, the professor, Dana Selman, joining us. Yeah. So lots to talk about then. And then next week, we've got all kinds of stuff to get you ready for the game. So looking forward to that.
Hey Bo, Valpasados. Valpasados.
What
Go
is that?
Birds in Portuguese.
Go Birds.
I've been learning a little bit.
I like that. I like that. The Portuguese is tough. Like Spanish, I can like figure it out. Portuguese is like totally unintelligible to me.
Yeah, it's a whole different, and it also has like some similarities to Spanish, but there's a lot of different. Yeah. It's tough. It's very tough.
Even with my fluent Spanish, I get stumped on the Portuguese, Bo.
Obrigado is all I know.
Yeah, exactly. You're good. You're good. Hola, obrigado. You're good. Dois cafés. That's it. That's all I need to know.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, you, Bo. Appreciate your time.
Oh.
Make sure you guys are checking out PHLY Eagles later, as Bo was sharing. 2:00, they'll be going live. Bo, Zach, the professor, going to be a great one. And JP, as we're talking through, I mean, listen, it is wild to think about the fact we are 1 week away from the Eagles opener. This offseason flew by. It feels like just yesterday we were all cussing and fussing at our screens when we saw the Eagles drop off from that 10-1 start to the slow, inevitable fallouts that was the end of the season, all the way through to losing to the Buccaneers with a banged up Baker Mayfield. But we're not talking about that because it's a new season, guys, and we're moving forward and we're not looking backwards. I think my biggest hope, and more than anything, is that this team learned a lot from last year. I was talking to some of my football friends that are not Eagles fans, and I was trash talking them because it's time. It's time to bring on, it's time to ramp up even the trash talk in your friends groups and with your families. All my family's Eagles fans, of course.
You got Cowboys fans there, Renee?
I do. I got some friends. I got some people that are in my life, and I don't know how they're in my life, and they are Cowboys fans. I've got 49ers. I've got Ravens. I got so many teams that I have to fight. I know, and I'm out here fighting for my life. And I was saying the reality is the Eagles last year, as much as we saw them in the beginning of the season do so well and assumed that was just going to be the norm, that they could maintain that. Right. They were still a young team. Yeah. They had a very, as a roster, a mixture of some veterans that it was time to move on. I hate to say it. It's hard to look at an Eagles team without Jason Kelce, without Fletcher Cox, or just in general. But also it was time to get those youngsters to really, they had to take their licks a little bit. And I am excited for this season because I feel like last year was valuable experience. They didn't have to lose that bad. Mm-hmm. They could have got that experience and won some more games, but they didn't. It's fine. Everything's fine. This is fine. So I do feel encouraged going into this season. I have high hopes for the Eagles. I had them winning 13, 14 regular season games. This team is going to be great. The talent's already there. Now you've got new coordinators, you've got youth, you've got more depth, you've got guys that are bought in, and I think that they're going to do a good job of being more intentional from the beginning of getting everybody involved. And I think that was the issue last year in terms of just how, especially the offense, you didn't see enough. We saw the question marks around A.J. Brown. Is he frustrated? Devontae Smith, they're not getting enough touches. The run game, being able to utilize that even more consistently. So I think the red zone execution is going to be fantastic this year because we saw last year when it wasn't. And I think you're not going to repeat the same.
Right.
Like, I think that this is a group that Nick Sirianni and the Eagles are going to come out having learned, and they're going to be better. And this is a team I have high expectations for.
I think the important thing, Renee, is to obviously look, that collapse was terrible. We all know that. But I think it's important for them, and I'm sure they have, but for them and especially the fans to put that behind us. Because this is a new season. And I think a lot of people see this team and like, yeah, it's a team that should be competing with the tops of the NFC. But then it's always that like, oh, but that collapse last year. Like it's time for them to put that away. I think of like your beat, the Phillies. You think of like those collapses in September that they had. And then in 2022, they put it all together and they win that series, or they win that game in Houston, and then they make the playoffs. So at some point, you do have to put that away because you are a good team. I do have some depth questions with these teams, especially like you look at this defense, Renee, like starters, like, yes, there's potential. But if anyone gets hurt, Renee, you are going to be scared of what's going to be behind those players, especially on that D line, especially on the D end positions, the edge rush positions. Not very comfortable with the depth that we have there. But no, I mean, I think for this season, especially these first couple weeks, it's important to put that collapse away.
Yeah, the defense was worse in baseball by the end of the season. If they can at least be mid, I think, and the offense achieve what they're supposed to. That's how they can start. I'm encouraged. Just be mid. Don't be one of the worst. So that being said, let's get into the grind presented by Bet Park Sportsbook with our very own Brad Feinberg joining us for Brad's best bets. Currently, Brad has all the updates, all the scoop, and all the bets that you need. Bet Parks, which is a friend of ours. We've got the grind. Brad Feinberg.
Brain. Red, the brain, Feinberg.
Brad,
Happy Friday is right.
Happy Friday. Nice to have you in here. Welcome in.
Thank you very much. Again, there's never such thing as a bad Friday, now is there?
No, we made it. TGIF, okay? But I want to get your thoughts, Brad, because on this Friday, we are leading into, we've got college football's kicked off, the NFL's around the corner, we've got baseball's well underway and nearing the final, like less than 29 games at this point of the regular season. Give us some bets. What's your top bet right now that you are looking to lock in?
Well, okay, look, a couple baseball bets I like today. And look, one's in the Phillies game. Ranger Suarez, okay, who came off obviously a long stint on the DL, only threw 72 pitches his last game, but I'm expecting him to go more like at least 87 to 90 in this game in his second start back. Over 4.5 strikeouts right now on the Park site, laying $1.37. Now, Ranger Suarez is 15-5 to this number. I don't understand why it's as low as it is. And the Braves have struck out the 5th most times during the year of any Major League Baseball team, but in the last 30 days, they've struck out the 2nd most times. So I have a guy who's been doing this about 75% of the time, going against a team that strikes out a lot. Yeah, I'll take my chances that Ranger Suarez gets 5 strikeouts because I expect him to go 6 innings tonight. And if he goes 6 innings, I think his over-under should be at least 5.5. So I think we're getting a nice edge there. And then the second hardest team in Major League Baseball to strike out is the Kansas City Royals. So we can take Framber Valdez, who's averaging about 1 strikeout an inning, under 6.5 strikeouts right now on the Park site, minus $1.43. 14 of his 23 starts this year, he's gone under, and he's going against the second hardest team to strike out. So I have a bet that is 14-9 and an extremely difficult matchup. Yeah, I'm going to take my chances that Ranger Suarez does not. I'm sorry, not Ranger Suarez. That Framber Valdez does not get the 7 strikeouts tonight.
I like it. Are there any college football bets that you're looking to lock in? I mean, it is week 0 is over. We're into week 1 already. We saw the Thursday night games. Any teams, players that you are looking on the college football side?
Well, look, I went to Michigan. I'm a big Michigan guy. I think the total in the game is a little high. I think we're going to see a Michigan team this year that is going to struggle offensively. I really believe that they're still going to be really good, at least in my opinion, defensively. But on the offensive side of the ball, not so sure what we're going to get. So I think right now the total is sitting around, I have to check the park site right now, but it should be sitting around 47, 48-ish in that area. And I don't think we're going to get there. I think we're going to get a lower scoring game in the Michigan game this week. And then Arizona State, actually, I'll start with UCLA Hawaii. I like UCLA here. And again, the line's up to 14. I laid 13 earlier, but I think UCLA is in a different class than Hawaii. Hawaii almost they had a fake score last week. They were tied late in the third against a horrible like Division II opponent, and they got like a kickoff return that gave them the lead. UCLA to me, obviously they lost Chip Kelly, but I still think UCLA is a team that I think can be an above average team, and my numbers made that closer to 17.5. So you could lay 14 right now on the park site. I think UCLA. I don't think Hawaii is very good at all. I think UCLA, whether or not great, will be good enough to win that one by over 2 touchdowns.
Hey, Brad, last night, a lot of people had all their eyes on that Colorado game, and they get that 31-26 win over NDSU, man. Do you have high hopes for Colorado this season?
Look, I mean, obviously, we know the hype with Colorado. In Colorado, look, Sanders, to me, the quarterback, Shador, is terrific. Like, he played really, really well, threw a lot of nice deep passes. But defensively, that team's still, like, weak. Look, to me, they're the kind of team, say someone has a puncher's chance. To me, they're one of those kind of teams. On any given day, maybe they could score 40 points and because of the quarterback play and beat you. But I think this is probably going to be a 6-6 kind of team. I think they have a lot of holes. And I will say this: when Sanders goes to the NFL draft next year, man, I don't know. This team I could see going downward. I don't know how well Prime has been recruiting because I know he lost a lot of guys in the portal this year because he's obviously been a very polarizing coach. Some people love him. Some people just have not really been a fan of what he's done. So I would say when his son leaves, I'll be interested to see if they still have everything that's been going on there because I think that he is more or less, and obviously Hunter is an incredible two-way player.
Oh, my God.
But and look, did you see that catch he had last night?
Yeah.
Oh,
it
insane.
was a great catch. Yeah, it was a really, really nice catch. But Colorado, I'm not that bullish on at all. I do think they can win about 6 games. I'll call it 6-6. But too many holes defensively to me for this team to really go, quote unquote, places. But I root for them. I actually do root for them. I like Deion. I actually like Colorado. I actually, whatever it's worth, not worth anything, but I actually root for Colorado to have success. I think it's good for the sport if that team's good. You remember they're getting the highest ratings from ESPN on all their games. If you remember last year, they were getting the highest ratings of anything. Like no team, Michigan, Ohio State, no one was comparing to Colorado. So he certainly energized the college football world with, now we'll continue year 2. We'll see. But as I said, I definitely rooting for them.
You're so right because like in the 90s they were such an iconic team. You think like with the Cordell Stewart days. I feel like they haven't been relevant since like Dan Hawkins was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
No, they haven't. It's been a long time. I mean, obviously, look, they went through a stretch where they were playing for national championships under Coach McCartney, and they were actually like really, really good. And yeah, the Cordell Stewart, Michael Westbrook, Rashawn Salam days. Like I remember I was living in those times. I was there. Right. Like that was my era. So I remember those days well, and they were really, really good. But yeah, then Colorado went through a stage where they became a true doormat. Okay, and it's interesting. And anyone who's like, to me, I don't know if you guys agree, but like, have you ever been to Boulder?
No, I haven't been.
I went to that. There's like a Philly sports bar out there.
Place. I got to tell you something. Like, if you've ever been there, I think it's a great recruiting area because to me, if you go there, I don't know how you don't fall in love with it. I got to be honest. Like, I don't know how you don't just be like, wow, man. Like, I certainly can live 4 years of my life here. I'll take that. It's a different kind of thing than obviously living, let's say, in California near the beach, certainly. But in terms of just pure, beautiful scenery, I don't think you can get a nicer experience than going there, just seeing the mountains and like the clean air. And it's a great place. So, I mean, I love Boulder, but I think it's just whatever. It's obviously they struggled for many years. But a lot of this just comes down to coaching. And when you
Yeah.
have a guy that's like, let me ask you a question. In college basketball, should like Connecticut for men's basketball, should that be like a great thing? It's funny, Coach Calhoun left and then they struggled. They, and then they won one title under Ollie, but besides that, they didn't make the tournament. Danny Hurley gets there. Look at Indiana basketball, Coach Knight leaves. They really didn't do anything. Georgetown, the best example. Coach Thompson leaves.
Ooh.
They haven't made the tournament, I don't think, since he left in 30 years. So a lot of, John Chaney leaves Temple. Like a lot of these things is really the coach more so if you don't have a destination type of school, in my opinion. And maybe that's what's happened to some of these colleges that, that struggle when they lose a certain coach.
Yeah, not to mention they had coaches, Patrick Ewing and Aaron McKee. You look at the coaches that their successors. These are great coaches that we're following. And to your point, recruiting is very important, but also being able to establish your own recruiting class. We know for Colorado, for example, Primetime Dion comes in with 90 plus transfers. You're trying to figure out the whole model of what your program is going to look like. It takes time to build your program. I was a college coach for a couple years. It takes time to work through the recruiting process. But I'm curious.
Know. That's so cool.
Yeah,
I did not know. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was a college coach at Lehigh, coaching soccer when I played pro soccer and then I coached college soccer before I became a full-time reporter.
That's
You're a pro athlete, Brad.
Did you enjoy it? No, I think that's so cool. I mean, like to me, being able to help young people and help, because I think sports, I just love sports so much, and it's not just gambling on it, but I think it's for me, religion's obviously such an important thing for many people and for many great reasons. In some ways, sports is that for me where it just kind of makes me, whatever bad day I'm having or whatever is going on in my life, that could be something that I just kind of like, okay, well, this is something I have. This is something I can enjoy. And for you being able to coach young people, help them, I think that's really a neat thing that you can actually influence people's lives like that and really help them, obviously grow on the field, but also, become, I just think that's great. I think it's really neat. I would love to, I think it's really awesome you were able to do that.
Thank you. Oh, it was a great experience. And honestly, after playing and finishing playing at such a high level, to be able to coach was such a great next step while I was transitioning fully into reporting. But enough about me. I want to get into, on the college side, some more, because last night we saw with Colorado that 31-26 win over North Dakota State. You get 3 touchdowns by Travis Hunter, and already we're having the Heisman conversations because it's never too soon to talk about who we think is going to be winning Heisman. What are your expectations come post the end of the season that you think is going to be the top team and the top players across college football?
Well, for Heisman Trophy, again, his odds have shrunk. They've gone from like 15-1 to like 7-1 area. But look, Dylan Gabriel, I think, is going to be really tough. Look, going to Oregon, this guy's had a lot of success everywhere he's been. Now playing at Oregon, I will be stunned if he doesn't put up massive, massive numbers. I really believe that. To me, he should be the favorite. He is the favorite. Now, if you're looking for a guy that his odds are double that, then could I see a world where he does it? Jackson Dart of Mississippi has the coach. Their schedule to me was very doable. I could see him putting up prolific numbers as well. But I really think Oregon, the way they play, and the way Gabriel can throw the ball, I think he's going to put up the best raw numbers, and I see no reason why he shouldn't be the favorite. And even at 7-1, I'm saying, okay, do I think he can win it 1 out of 8 times? Yeah, I do. In terms of who I think has the best team this year, and I hate to say this, I'm a Michigan guy, and I can't stand. I think I root against Ohio State more than I root for any team. But I think Ohio State is really loaded this year, unfortunately. I stress the word unfortunately. I think they're going to be really, really tough. They would be the team that I think Georgia's had a couple like off the field things which have hurt them, but there's obviously with Carson Beck, they're going to be great. You don't need me to tell you that. But I think Ohio State, look, if Ryan, and you read the articles, they spent $20 million like buying their team this year. Congrats to them and their donors for getting it done. This is not be sour grapes. I'm giving them credit. I'm not being facetious. They actually are trying to win, and they're doing what they have to do in the new college football landscape, and I give them credit for doing that. Ryan Day's now lost 3 straight times to Michigan. The pressure on him is, honestly, you say it is national championship or bust. And I think there's a really good chance they do get it done. I really think they have a really, really good team this year. And even losing a great player like Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Ohio State would be my pick.
It's wild you didn't even mention Alabama because they're also on that boat after Nick Saban
Yeah.
leaves. You have no idea what to expect from Alabama this year, but this could be a year we don't even talk. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Alabama. Look, but Alabama's gonna be really good because look, Milrose to me is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And obviously, look, but it's interesting. You make a great point. You lose a great coach like Saban, you never know what's going to happen. You may think you know what's going to happen, but you really don't know. I mean, it's always educated guesses. But because they've been so, just in my opinion, good for so many years, like I still have Alabama. I think I have them ranked 5th in my power ratings. So I mean, I still think this would be a really, really good team. And again, just when you have that really good quarterback, I always say it raises your IQ. Like, but this way, if I'm coaching with Jalen Milrose and then you put like a non-good quarterback on another team and it's Nick Saban coaching, my IQ's going to be raised quite a bit because I have a really good quarterback. And so as long as Alabama has a really good quarterback play, which they really should, there's no reason they should not be a contender for the national championship, in my opinion.
Hey, Brad, the college football game around here everyone's talking about, West Virginia, Penn State. Now I got a bunch of Penn State buddies. They feel confident, but I'm like, I don't know, guys. In Morgantown, they already partied. They started the party yesterday. How do you feel about that matchup tomorrow?
Well, look, I think Penn State's a legit playoff contender this year. When I'm looking at this, they're going to be favored in 11 of their 12 games this year. Garrett Green comes back for West Virginia, who, in my opinion, is like a. Again, I like especially in college, actually in the pros now too, I shouldn't even say that, but I really like the dual threat guys, the guys that can run and pass. West Virginia returns 13 starters. Again, it's interesting. I bet this game, I always say I bet numbers, not teams, right? Like if you made this game -6 for Penn State, I'd make a big bet on Penn State. If you made the line 10, which it was, I bet on West Virginia. I made the number 8. Right now it's coming in at 8. But I do think this is, not a make or break it year because he's still going to be there if he struggles. But I think for Coach Franklin, it's time, in my opinion, especially now the playoffs up to 12. If they can't get in the playoffs now, with it being 12, obviously Drew Lar has to, I saw flashes from him, but I didn't, for me, I don't know. I know Anthony was really high on him. I didn't think last year he was that great, in my opinion. But I think there's a lot of pressure on this Penn State team to not just finish 9-3 and play in the Capital One bowl game or whatever. I think they got to get in the playoffs, in my opinion. Look, I grew up a Penn State fan, by the way. I mean, that was a huge Penn State fan. And by the way, again, talk about going to college campuses. If you've been to Happy Valley,
I've played there.
Great place. Oh, you went to Penn State?
I didn't play I played against Penn State. Let me clarify.
Oh, okay.
We played against Penn State at Happy Valley. I went to LaSalle here in Philly. So we played
awesome.
Yeah. In fact, was that our season opener? No, it was like one of our first, I think it was like a 3rd game of the season one year we played at Penn State. Awesome experience.
Don't you think it's a great, right? It's just what I love about Happy Valley is, and I went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, same thing. Like the city, it is the college, and so you get a true college experience. Like if you, for example, went to, some of the, to me, like if I went to Penn, right, and it's great, it's beautiful, it's awesome, but it's not the college. Like the college is not the city. When you go to Penn State, everything there is Penn State, and there's not many colleges like that, and so I really love that area. And to me, I think I grew up a huge Penn State fan, and I'd love to see them get back to being national championship contenders. That's Michigan. Look, them and Michigan are very similar to me. They both were really good programs that went through lulls of going 9-3. You bring in Harbaugh, he gets it done. Is James Franklin to get it done for Penn State? Time will tell. But they're that team that always beats who they should beat, and they never beat the teams. They never pull off that big game upset, and that's what you need to do to break through, and they haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brad, for your great insight. It's been a pleasure. Of course, locally, Temple plays tonight against Oklahoma. That's a number 16 Oklahoma. You got Temple, who had 3 wins total last year. Let's hope this season's a better season for the Owls.
Don't embarrass us.
Maybe you'll get 3 points tonight. Maybe you get 3 points. That's about it. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
Oh, Temple.
Welcome back, Temple football. But thank you, Brad. It's been a pleasure having you
Appreciate
on
you guys.
Thanks,
this
Brad.
morning. That is The Grind with Brad Feinberg, presented by our friends at Park Sportsbook. And listen, as he's mentioning, exciting times are looking ahead into the college football season. Maybe not as exciting for everybody. Owls, hopefully this is a better season for the Temple Owls because last season was not great. But you can bet that it will be at least a good college football season.
That's right, guys. And right now, with our friends over at Bet Parks, they have the Sportsbook app. So if you're feeling lucky about Temple, not really, guys, right? Bet Penn State. Obviously, we talked about some of these other games this weekend. We got Clemson as well. Clemson, Georgia is going to be a lot of fun. Guys, if you're feeling lucky, check out the Bet Park Sportsbook app here today. It's pro football and the bird season opener next Friday. Guys, get excited because it's finally here. The one and only sportsbook app that I ever recommend is the Bet Parks and the Bet Parks Sportsbook app and online casino. They have a great offer for new customers to kick off the upcoming pro football season. An amazing 50-1 odds boost on your pick to win this year's Pro Football Championship. All new users who sign up and make a deposit receive a 50-1 super odds boost. BetParks.com has all the terms and conditions. Get odds boosted to 50-1. Yes, 50-1 odds. Here are the top 6 favorites to win the Pro Football Championship this upcoming season. The Chiefs, the Niners, the Ravens, the Lions, the Bengals, and of course, your Philadelphia Eagles. Download the BetPark Sportsbook and online casino app right now and get your 50-1 super odds boost on your pick for this year's Pro Football Championship. This is a limited time offer for new customers only. BetParks.com has terms and conditions. You must be 21 and older in PA, New Jersey, Michigan, or Maryland. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet Parks. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Well, you know where there's been tradition, quality, and great, delicious sandwiches with a culinary experience that's is one of a kind. For 30 years, it's Primo Hoagies.
My
Primo
favorite.
Hoagies is fantastic. You've got the meaty, delicious, full sandwiches from Primo. Now, from their first store opening back in 92, when some of us were born, that's how long it's been that Primo Hoagies has been creating delicious sandwiches. Yes, I was born in 92. Born in the heart of the South Philly for Primo, not me. Their sandwiches are great. You can find them on every corner, and they always have just everything you need to get ready for whether it's game day, you're having a cookout, you're hanging out. I know I got to hang out at the Primo Hoagies. They have a party bus, which was so incredible to be a part of that experience, where they had sandwiches, they had drinks, they had music, they had vibes. Primo Hoagie is a vibe. Every time you get a Primo Hoagie from them, you know what you're getting into. And today you can download the new Primo Hoagies app, enter for your chance to win a year, 365 days, could be 366 if it's a leap year. A year of free hoagies from now through November 15th. You can sign up, and when you download or update your Primo Hoagies app, you can also enter the new sweepstakes where one grand prize winner is going to win free hoagies for that entire year. You can only enter through the app, though, so make sure you download the app and sign up, and then make sure you take advantage of that deal before it ends. For legal, or go to go to Primo Hoagies app. You can also check out the website to download the app at primohoagies.com/app, because Primo Hoagies for over 30 years has been giving you quality, delicious, traditional hoagies, and make no mistake about it, the flavor of Philadelphia with our friends over at Primo Hoagies. All right, you are tuned in to the Gargano Show. The Anthony Gargano Show is brought to you by Rite Aid, your neighborhood pharmacy. You can visit your local Rite Aid today, stock up on allergy relief, catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles, and more, or walk in. You can also schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. We've talked NFL, we've talked best bets with Brad, and now let's get into my beat, one of my beats, since I'm on the Union Show as well, the Phillies with our buddy Jim Salsbury. It's time for the sit down with our special guest, Jim Salsbury. Jim, usually we're talking on PHLY Phillies. This Friday we're talking here on the Gargano Show, and I want to jump right in. Series opener last night for the Phillies against the Braves. Nick Castellanos, who continues to thrive for the Phillies in moments where they need him most, whether it was a 3-run homer on Tuesday against Justin Verlander, or last night, the go-ahead runs that Nick scored late. He's been seeing a lot of fastballs. Actually, he's been seeing less fastballs, I should say, than any other hitter. But he's been see ball, hit ball, and Nick Castellanos, Jim, was fantastic last night. Is he really emerging as like the unsung, or maybe not even unsung at this point, kind of consistent MVP for the Phillies right now? That you can just rely on Nick whenever needed to step up in a moment?
Well, if you go by that middle letter, V for valuable, I mean, he's been very valuable. I mean, we kind of focused, I think, on that really tough start he had. But I was saying all along that I believe in the track record, and I acknowledge that he's a very streaky hitter, and he got off to a tough start. But I always thought he'd have just as a positive streak as well, and he's been very good, like since the end of May. Yeah. And, early June, the team kind of had trouble piling up those wins like they were early. So they had kind of 2.5 really rough months, but Castellanos was consistent in that period of time. And I think he's a big reason that they stayed afloat during that tough stretch, and that tough stretch wasn't more detrimental to them. He really helped keep them afloat when they needed a bat, and he's been very consistent since the end of May. And what you're seeing now is, he's on one of his hot streaks. If you make a mistake over the heart of the plate to him, and he's had this, it's been his kind of reputation throughout his career. You make a mistake over the heart of the plate, and he's going to hammer it. You really use that bat head and do some damage, and that's what he's doing now. You saw Verlander the other night with that 12-6 breaking ball. He absolutely just murdered it. Last night, fastball, murdered it. I mean, 2 very, very big hits on this homestand, very big home runs that have helped turn games around and help them win important games. The Phillies are a different team. Every team is different when they hit home runs. Home runs are big. They're important. Every team is better when they get them, but especially the Phillies, because they don't do a lot of other things offensively, at least consistently. They don't do a ton else to beat you offensively. They need to slug. They are designed to slug, and that's kind of what we're seeing lately. So, I mean, hats off to Nick. 2 huge hits in this homestand that have backboned 2 huge wins. And Marsh as well, who was having his struggles, comes up with a big one last night. That was kind of a fascinating moment because they didn't bring in a lefty to face him, and we know he struggles against lefties. And big win for the Phillies. It reminded me of that win last week when Schwarber hit or maybe 2 weeks ago when Schwarber hit the grand slam. And they come
Dodgers.
When they come from behind to win that game, and they can build a little bit. So maybe you can build on this a little bit. Just a fantastic win because of the timing at the end of August. It pushed them back up to 6 on the team that's chasing you. They're in town. You beat them. It could have been 4. Just so many. And, you knocked another day off the schedule, moved a step closer to clinching. Just such an impactful victory.
Yeah.
And the bullpen was great. The bullpen was great. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No. I was going to say, before you jump in, JP, I know you're chomping at the bit to ask your question also. Jim, you bring up a great point, because that grand slam that Kyle Schwarber hit against the Marlins, that was game 2 after they had just gotten mopped up by the Marlins game 1. Yeah. They go on a nice winning streak. They beat the Nationals in that series. And from there, the Braves series was not great, but the Royals, the Astros, it really did kind of start that winning streak for them. Coming into that play for Brandon Marsh, they were scoreless in 15 straight innings after being shut out against the Astros in game 3. And then the offense was cold. They had 4 hits, hadn't scored a run in 15 innings. And Brandon Marsh's 3-run homer opens things up to then allow the 2-run home run by Nick Castellanos. You do need those moments where you can reset, and as a group just feel kind of the weight off of your shoulders. And this Phillies team has been able to capitalize when they do have those moments that change the trajectory of how they're playing.
I agree with you. That's a great way to put it, a reset moment. They left 7 men on base in the first 5 innings. Those are missed opportunities. And now you're looking at being down 3 runs, and, the innings are slipping away. People are gripping the bat handle. Marsh, comes up and makes everybody in the ballpark think, okay, we're back on track. We got a chance. But it also makes everybody in the dugout think that way. So terrific comeback win. When you lose a game late and you blow a lead, it can be so draining on a clubhouse and demoralizing on a clubhouse. Conversely, when you win one in comeback fashion, man, people can't wait to get to the ballpark the next day and try to pile up another win. And I think that that victory could have that impact on this club.
Absolutely. Well, just kind of button it up on, especially on Castellanos there, Jim. So NBC Philly did us a solid here. So since June 17th, in 63 games, he's batting at 304 at batting average. He has 29 runs, and he's got 10 home runs with 43 RBIs. And right now, when you kind of see him at the plate, he's got like this swagger. When he's hot, he's got like a little bit of the swagger. And whatever you throw, he's going to knock it out the ballpark or, even just get it in play. But it's super dangerous, especially in that middle of that lineup, Jim, just having a guy with so much confidence in Nick Castellanos.
That's the word right there, confidence. It's magic when you have it in sports, when you have it in anything. And he's got it. Right now, he's got it. He's obviously seeing the ball well. His pitch recognition is good. This is a guy that struggles with chase off the plate. If you can just kind of reel that chase in, lay off that stuff off the plate, which is easier said than done. But, he's susceptible to breaking balls off the plate. But and he doesn't get a ton of fastballs, but sometimes the best way to hit a breaking ball is don't miss the fastball. And that's what he did last night. You make a mistake over the plate right now, he's so locked in and he's so confident he's going to hurt you.
Well, confidence is very important, and I hate to bring up this guy because he's someone that we're not very confident in right now, but we have to ask because yesterday prior to the game, Jim, we got the news that Taijuan Walker was moved to the bullpen. We saw, obviously, a very bad performance for Taijuan against the Astros Game 3. Was it 13 hits he gave up, 0 Ks on the day, and 6 runs. And for Taijuan, he struggled this season, and something that I know I've been paying close attention to is actually as the season's progressed, in and around his 2 IL stints, his ERA's dropped. His velocity hasn't been there. The splitter hasn't been there. We have seen a very bad Taijuan Walker, unfortunately, a guy you spent a lot of money on and still have a lot of money, $36 million over the next 2 years. Is this move to the bullpen, which allows them to now, they have to slide in a new number 5. It's probably going to be, looks like Tyler Phillips until maybe Colby Allard around September 10th. Do you think this is just a temporary move until they figure out something more permanent for Taijuan? What are your thoughts on this? Because it doesn't feel like he can pitch for the Phillies.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a great marriage. I mean, it hasn't been. I don't know how much longer it'll continue. I think with only a month left in the regular season, you can certainly manage that roster spot, manage it through the season. Maybe use him long relief and mop-up role. Maybe if you clinch the division with 7 days to go, you could put him back on the mound, with a couple of games to go and try to eat some innings. I don't know where it's going long-term, but they'll just manage it through this final month. He won't be on the postseason roster. I think it is manageable for that time period, but long-term, I don't know if it is manageable if we don't see great improvement in his stuff and his velocity and just his entire repertoire. And I don't know that at age 32 that can happen with his odometer reading and whatnot. So I don't know if he's going to be in Clearwater. I mean, a lot of people clamoring to let him go. I don't see that move coming in the short term, maybe over the winter. Who knows? But I will say this about Taijuan. It was he's been beat up a lot in this town. I mean, I was at the game on Wednesday. There were a lot of boos. That can't feel good.
Yeah, I feel bad.
He got nothing. I mean, it's a merry-go-round around the bases. But for him to suck up those 2 innings and give the bullpen a little break going into a big series against Atlanta, which started last night, and then the bullpen gives you 3 1/3 last night, that move, that unselfishness that he showed on Wednesday might have had some impact on yesterday's victory. So I thought he was an excellent teammate. I thought he showed a lot of class because, I've been around baseball a long time. And when a guy is out there and he's got nothing, he starts looking in the dugout, when you're going to get me out of here because I don't want to be further embarrassed. My manager's going to make me, wear this thing. I'm getting beat up out here. When is my manager going to rescue me? And there was none of that from Taijuan Walker. He volunteered to stay in that game, so they didn't wear out the bullpen going into a big series. So, it was really tough to watch. It was like a horror show Wednesday, but within that horror show was some honor. And I tip my hat to him for doing what he did as a teammate, giving him those 2 extra innings, giving the bullpen a little rest, and maybe it helps him in the Atlanta series. I think it might have helped him last night. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget that active, good teammateship that he showed on Wednesday.
You're spot on, Jim, because I feel like sometimes the fans have way too much information, right? Like knowing how much a player makes every year, and then when a player doesn't perform in the way we don't like, we start booing, we start bringing up those numbers. And at the end of the day, these are human beings. Yes, they play for our teams, but they're human beings, they have feelings. And so I honestly did feel for the guy. We had Bill Matz as the host yesterday, and he brought up a good point. Yeah, maybe on Wednesday, we were probably using Taijuan Walker as a little bit of a scapegoat. Obviously the bats didn't show up defensively. There were some mishaps as well. And so we'll see what the bullpen does. I'm personally not a big fan of moving him to the bullpen, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see here. But I feel for him.
You make a good point. Moving him to the bullpen to me is just kind of a way station, so they can ride it to the end of the season. He's not going to be on the postseason roster, and then you make a decision going forward what's going to happen next year. But you're so right to point out that whole day was ugly.
Oh yeah,
they didn't hit. You looked up there in the top of the eighth, or after the top of the eighth inning, they were down 10-0 and getting out hit 17-0. He gave up 6 runs, but 3 of them, came after defensive miscues.
Correct.
And I'm not suggesting he pitched well at all. Give up a lot of base runners, a lot of hits. The big home run to Alvarez. And I think they made the right call removing him from the rotation, but he was the focal point of an ugly day on Wednesday, but there was more to it. And you know what? When you do a deep reading of it, that shows you how important starting pitching is, because it sets the tone for the whole day. And when your teammates don't have confidence in the starting pitcher, I think it affects the play all the way around. The play becomes sluggish. So it all feeds off each other, and it's all stuff that has to be considered by the front office and the manager when they make a decision to remove a guy from the rotation, just not giving them a chance to win. They're 0-9 in his last 9 starts. This change is completely justifiable, probably overdue. So, but all I'm saying is within the bad and the ugliness of it all was a moment of good character. Him picking his teammates up, picking the bullpen up a little bit, and that's the beauty of baseball. You can be out there and be almost no hit, lose 10-0, and the next day come back with what might have been the win of the season. So that's where they are.
Yeah, it was the first time a Phillies starter went 6 innings since 2017 without a strikeout. That was Ben Lively that did that last. And as you mentioned for Taijuan, who's 0-9 in his last 9 starts, that's 7 career games he's had that he started with 0 strikeouts, and to still go out there, I did feel bad for him because I was like, I feel like he's set up to fail at this point, and we know his stuff has been off. He hasn't been pitching well, and I do feel like the bullpen move is a temporary one because the Phillies aren't going to make any impulsive decisions. They're going to take their time and talk this through. And it's not something that's going to have an impact on the next couple months. Let's be honest. He wasn't going to be in the playoff roster anyways. And there's 28 games left in the regular season. You can piecemeal it with your number 5. But I do want to switch gears because as we talk about and look ahead, this is a very important series. You come into this series 5.5 or 5 games ahead of the Braves for a 4-game series. You have had, I couldn't believe this number that I saw. It was like 50 innings, across 50 innings, the Phillies had scored 7 runs coming into yesterday against the Braves. For whatever reason, from the opening weekend, the Braves have had the Phillies number this season. So this is a very important series for the overall season series, for the NL East, for the NL, just to continue to hold on to that first round bye. And so today, we get Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez versus Reynaldo Lopez. We know Ranger was on a pitch count last game. We get Ranger back. He looked great in his first showing. Today's obviously a huge, huge opportunity. If you win today, at least at the very worst, you can split this series. So what are your thoughts on Rangers' return and how much this really helps to now solidify and have your top 4 guys back healthy? And as we know, when the starting pitching is 7+ innings, you're 30 wins in a row. You're winning games. You're getting the offense the confidence when they step up to bat. So how important is it for Ranger Suarez to take the mound again today against Reynaldo?
It's important in the short term because you can add another little more cushion against the Braves, the team that's in town, the team that's chasing you, and also kind of chop a day off the schedule and move closer to that magic number. So Very important in the short term, but also in the long term. I mean, he needs to take another step. It was very good in his comeback from the IL, and you'd like to see him take another step just to reinforce to everybody that he's healthy, build that pitch count a little more, because the starting rotation is crucial. I mean, they need their offense to produce in the postseason and not, swing at everything and have big strikeout totals. You need to have efficient games offensively, but I think most of all, they need that starting pitching to be good. That's the foundation on which they built those first, 2+ good months on, great months, and built the best record in the majors over that span. So, you want to have Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez all clicking, because you're going to see them all in October. And, Sanchez, Suarez will probably line up as your number 3. He's got some postseason experience. You just want to know that he's back, and we got a pretty good little glimpse of it in Kansas City, and now you want to have a little more glimpse of it now, and just come away from it feeling good. And they really took their time with him, which to me, made me think, well, maybe this back spasms are worse than the people are letting on, but maybe they were just being careful and recognizing his importance in September and October. And so we'll see. He certainly looked pretty good his last time out, and we'll see what he looks like again tonight. I think it's important to build on such an emotional win from last night, and it starts with starting pitching.
You are absolutely correct, Jim. And I'm excited because to get this starting rotation healthy. As much as we talk about Taijuan, that's your number 5. The more important piece is your top 4 guys healthy, pitching as they were the first half of the season. And of course, we'll keep an eye out for the news on Alec Boehm. Never great to see that. But I know the x-rays were negative, so we're still waiting to get the updates for Alec, and hopefully it's nothing serious. But Jim, we appreciate you as always weighing in. Great insight, great work that you do. Hopefully you have a fantastic weekend, and we have a fantastic weekend of watching the Phillies win.
All right. Thank you, guys. Great job in the big chair, Renee.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Have a great one.
See you, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Jim always does a fantastic job with his work.
We love Jimmy Steaks. He's the best.
Yes. Well, if you guys want to take advantage of some opportunities to hang with us at PHLY, we've got lots of fun things on tap for you coming up that you can take advantage of checking out. As we were talking about, there's a pickleball tournament coming up September 7th, my birthday, #Virgo season. And also we've got plenty of other things that you guys can check out. I know last night we had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
As plenty of people were able to come out and hang with us at Top Tomato to watch the Phillies series opener against the Braves. We had dollar beers, dollar hot dogs. We had ticket giveaways. We had a lot of merch we gave away, autographed merch at that, Phillies merch, not our merch, Phillies merch. And we've got many more events for you guys to check out, because now that the NFL is kicking off, we've also got our PHLY Eagles watch party coming up. Woo. Friday, September 6th, 7 p.m., Eagles versus Packers in Brazil. But you guys can watch here locally. For $40 tickets, you get a chance, an all-you-can-eat buffet. It'll have chicken tenders, mac and cheese. I'm not a big mac and cheese fan, but some of you like it. Pulled pork sliders, I'm a big fan of. Waffle fries, pretzel bites, and more. You also get 3 drink tickets we've got Miller Lite, we've got other drafts, some well drinks on tap for you. And then we're going to have some Eagles ticket giveaways for the Eagles versus the Browns. That'll all go down at Tradesman September 6th. You can check out those details at allphly.com/events. And of course, just be on the lookout, as we always have events popping up. With the Sixers, Flyers around the corner, we'll have events for them. We've got more things. Playoffs are coming up for the Phillies. We'll have some playoff excitement for you around tailgates and things. So make sure you're checking out all of our information for becoming a diehard, checking out our events, and much more at allphly.com. It's fun times here.
Yeah, guys, don't ever want to miss out on that. But also what you don't want to miss out is on Parks Casino. Guys, it is Friday. It is finally here after work. We're jetting out of those offices, and we're trying to find something to do. So keep in mind, guys, Parks Casino in Salem, they have everything that you guys need for this weekend, all the activities, the Excite Center at Parks Casino, one of the many things that I love of my casino of choice. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Pennsylvania's #1 casino is so close to anywhere. Street Road, exit off of 95 and the PA Turnpike. The Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue inside Parks Casino, right in Bucks County in the Philly suburbs, named one of the best places for concerts and comedy, and a great place to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. Tickets are on sale right now for these headliners. On September 7th, Australian Pink Floyd. On September 14th, Funny Man, JB Smooth from Curb Your Enthusiasm. On September 20th, The Best of the Eagles, a tribute band to the Eagles, not the team, the band, guys. Keep that in mind. On September 26th, Joe Bartnick from Bill Burr Podcast joins Joe Conklin. We love Joe Conklin. September 18th, The Fray. October 4th, The Juicy Scoop Podcast with Heather McDonald and from Bravo, Chelsea Lately. My wife's going to love that one. On October 5th, comedian Kev Herrera. On October 25th, comedian Michael Blauston. And on November 23rd, comedian Steve Trevino. As you guys can tell, great lineup they got go over there. Parks Casino, this is how you win. ParksCasino.com to buy your tickets for all these shows here today. Remember, guys, you must be 21 or older. If you have a gambling problem, please, please, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, you guys are locked into the Anthony Gargano Show presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. You can check out TrueMark.com/PHLY or stop into your local branch to learn more about their credit union difference at TrueMark Financial. We've talked NFL, we've talked Major League Baseball and the Phillies. We've dabbled in some college football, but let's get a little bit deeper into talking college football because we actually have launching this upcoming week our very own PHLY Penn State show hosted by none other than Tyler Zulli.
Renee, I just got to, real quick before we get started, I'm going to have a conversation with you and JP and Andrew. How do you put me after Jim Salisbury? How do I follow? You have a legend in this city, and then you go, oh, yeah, by the way, here's Tyler.
You got a better fanfare for your intro. We didn't even give Jim that big of an intro.
Certainly take it, but some big shoes to fill and follow up. So we'll see what we do.
All right. Well, listen, this is the PHLY union crew all together again, by the way, but we're not talking union. We're versatile. We're now talking college football, the other football. So, Tyler, you're going to be hosting the Penn State show. Of course, this weekend we get Penn State, West Virginia. West Virginia's already canceled classes. We already have college game day. Everything is teed up for this matchup.
Tyler.
Yeah, going to be a great opportunity for Penn State as they're kicking off season 138. Your favorite coach, for some of you, James Franklin and Penn State Nittany Lions. What can we expect from Penn State this season? They've been great, especially in season openers. 113, 22-2 in season openers. They are 21-11 when they open on the road. And fun fact for anybody that cares, they are 3-0 when they play on August 31st. And they play on August 31st.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really intriguing matchup. Anybody that wants to look at last year's game and think it's kind of indicative of how tomorrow's going to go, I think that's a little bit foolish. Obviously, there's a lot of different factors that play into this. Of course, the big one, you're not at home, right? You're not playing at Beaver Stadium. You're going to Morgantown. I love these home and home rivalries, especially with teams that are not in your backyard, but kind of pseudo in your backyard. Like Penn State and Pitt should play every year. Penn State and West Virginia is a really cool up and coming thing. Like anytime you get an opportunity to get these semi-local rivalries to rebud, I think it's a great thing for college football, and it's a great thing for your both programs. This is going to be a really good game. I think West Virginia is sneaky good. Last year they win 8 games for the first time in over a decade. Neil Brown gets an extension. Garrett Green is a sneaky low buy type of guy for a Heisman pick. This is a good West Virginia team. If you're a Penn State fan thinking you're going to walk into this game and roll, I would maybe rethink that. Do I think Penn State wins? I do, but it's going to be a really good game.
Tyler, for myself as a depressed Temple fan here, maybe looking to have a little bit of a rooting interest in Penn State. Give us the preview here. What's this team looking like in 2024?
Yeah, so it's interesting because you have a team with 2 brand new coordinators. Both your offensive and your defensive coordinator are new. Last year, you saw kind of the unceremonious end of Mike Yurcich's tenure at Penn State. People were super excited, myself included, when they brought Yurcich over. Things just got a little bit stale in the offense towards the end, and it was really predictable. There wasn't a whole lot of excitement. There were too many good skill players, especially at the running back position, for them to be as stale as they were. So Mike Yurcich is out. Andy Kotelnicki is in. Coach K, if you don't want to mess with his last name, I totally understand. They're looking for more explosion this year. Drew Aller in year 2 as the signal caller, unquestioned, signal caller coming into this one. You don't have to worry about who's behind him. You didn't have to worry about that last year, but Drew Aller in year 2 under a new offensive coordinator. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are your big pieces. And then, of course, you bring Julian Fleming in from Ohio State in the transfer portal. He's going to get tasked with a lot. He's going to get a lot of targets. He is really the first true number 1 wide receiver Penn State has had in quite some time. You probably go back to Jahan Dotson as the last true number 1 for Penn State. So it'll be interesting on the offensive side of things. And then on the flip side, defense, Manny Diaz is now the head coach at Duke. The defense was not a problem. They were the number 2 scoring defense in the last 2 years under Manny Diaz. I think everybody and their brother would have loved for Manny Diaz to be the defensive coordinator in perpetuity. But unfortunately, he gets a head coaching job at Duke. So a new defensive coordinator in the mix as well. It'll be interesting to see how things kind of click and gel for this team. Losing it, you see it with the Eagles, right? 2 brand new top coordinators. It may not be seamless right away. You hope it is, but it's not like next week they've got Bowling Green. You would have loved for Bowling Green to be first on the schedule to kind of get the kinks out a little bit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this team gels with two brand new coordinators.
Hey, Bowling Green had a 100-yard touchdown off the kickoff against Fordham yesterday to open up the game. Not that they would have done that against Penn State. But as you mentioned, that was a crazy play. If anybody didn't see it, check it out. Highlight play for sure. But with West Virginia, you mentioned that as a great matchup for week 1. You've got West Virginia, who's got their front 7 back. They were top in the Big 12 in sacks last season. They also have a number of transfers, including their cornerbacks are transfers. And then offensively for West Virginia, number 3 in rushing yards last season across the nation. And they have a lot of their top backs returning. Jaheim White, they've got C.J. Donaldson, they've got a 5th-year quarterback in Garrett Green. This is just his 2nd season as a starter. West Virginia is a really good test for Penn State out the jump. Sounds like what I said for the Eagles, but same thing applies because you do get a really great week 1 matchup instead of rolling over a Bowling Green, for instance. What from this group with new coordinators, obviously Penn State brings back a lot of their pieces as well, as you mentioned. It's a good mixture of new and old. Is this the season? I know people are saying like book them for 10 wins. Is this the season that we're going to get Penn State better? Or are they going to be the exact same Penn State we've seen every season?
Listen, I think every Penn State fan will tell you they can pretty much predict the record every single year. It's usually 9-3 or 10-2. With loss, you could just you don't even need to pencil in. You can pen in the loss to Ohio State later this year. But the schedule is actually favorable for them. They only go to the West Coast once. UCLA comes here. Washington here. Beaver State. They come to Beaver Stadium.
Washington, Penn State guy.
Washington comes to Beaver Stadium. I believe they don't draw Oregon, which is awesome. They don't draw Michigan. It's a favorable year for Penn State to potentially up that 9-3, 10-2 to an 11-1. I think the goal for this team this year is a college football playoff. It expands. They would have been in it, I believe, 3 of the last 4 seasons or 3 of the last 5 seasons. You could go all the way back to 2016 when they won the Big Ten title, and it was them in Washington for the final spot in the 4-team playoff. This team has a standard of tier 2 really good. Penn State fans will love to tell you that they're a blue blood, that they're a tier 1 team. They're not. I'd love for them to get there. But I think with an 8-team playoff now, a 12-team playoff now, right?
Yeah.
A 12-team playoff now. There is if this team doesn't make the playoffs, something probably went haywire at some point in the season. I'm not sitting here telling you they're going to win the Big Ten. I don't believe that they do. But should they be somewhere in the 8 to 12 range in terms of seeding? I think so.
Tyler, listen, I was at one point in my life a huge college football fan. Anthony Morelli was my era of college football, all right?
Nice.
So, one of the things that's kind of turned me off is these, these super conferences starting to get built. And obviously, like you just mentioned, you got some of those old Pac-10, Pac-12 teams in the Big Ten now. And, I'm just curious, how do you feel about that? To me, I just hate that. I miss, those old, the old Big Ten, the old Pac-10. I miss those days.
Yeah, the 2 teams I feel the worst for are Oregon State and Washington State because they're just 2 teams without a home now.
Yeah.
I agree with you to an extent. Listen, it's all about money. It's all about revenue. It's all about TV deals and these deals for The Big Ten, the SEC and the ACC specifically are really solid. From the Power 5 schools, those are the two that you feel bad for. From the group of the group of 5 teams, it's going to be uphill sledding for those teams. Now, the expansion of the playoff to 12 teams, you hope that you get one of those, American teams or a Conference USA or somebody along the lines that maybe runs the table and presents an opportunity for them to be an 11 or a 12 seed. They're probably going to go into a playoff game and get crushed. But to have an opportunity like, a few years ago, Coastal made a run at an undefeated season. Appalachian State made a run at an undefeated season. But yeah, I think it's going to be different for sure. There's not the standard rivalries that you're used to. JP, you bring up the Pac-12. The Big Ten has always had some intriguing rivalries that maybe go by the wayside. It'll be different. It's going to take some time for us to get used to it. But in the end of the day, cash is king. And college football knows that just as well as we do.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, it's definitely going to take time. We're just so used to and conditioned to how the conferences were made up. But I think most importantly, what I am excited for is the expansion of the playoffs. There are too many teams that come the end of the season, are on the outside looking in, that deserve a chance in the college football playoffs. So we saw last year, there's been some controversial decisions and as to who's in the Final Four. So I'm thrilled that we get the expansion, but I'm also thrilled with our expansion here at PHLY that we get a Penn State show. For everybody tuned in right now and everybody listening back later, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, Roku, podcast platforms, we do now have a Penn State show kicking off Tuesday. Right after Labor Day, you guys get some Penn State updates. Tyler, can you share with our friends all that they can expect from your new Penn State show that you're going to be hosting?
Yeah, super excited about this. We're going to go every Tuesday. The goal is to be every Tuesday at 4. Nobody cares what I have to say, but I know you care. I know you care about what my co-host is going to have to say. Super, super excited to be joined by Adam Telefero each and every week. Penn State legend, you know him. Great guy. He's got the insight that very few do. He's been on that field at Beaver Stadium. He knows what it's like to play at that field and to be a Penn State letterman. We're hoping to bring in some really fun, exciting, former Penn State letterman, current Penn State letterman as the year goes on to give you, the best conversation. I'm just kind of the conduit. I'm going to say, hey, welcome to the Penn State show, and I'm going to let the guys that know what they're doing and know what they're saying, go on and talk it out like only they can. So I'm super excited. It's once a week. We're going to be on it Tuesdays. I think that this is a really cool journey for us to expand into the college football ranks. We got a lot of college football nerds in this city. Listen, I know there's a lot of Penn State fans in Philly. I know there's a lot of people in Philly that absolutely despise Penn State. You're all welcome to the show. It's not just going to be Penn State talk. We'll go around college football. Talk about the landscape, the playoff, Heisman talk, all of it. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and that's the key. I mean, here at PHLY, we do have a Philly focus, but we talk everything sports. You can't talk about college football and just talk about Penn State without mentioning other teams, other things going on around college football. So I'm excited for it for you, Tyler. I'm excited for the crew to get going on Tuesday. And everybody in the chat, make sure you're staying tuned to check that out Tuesday, 4 p.m. It's going to be a good one. Tyler,
We
appreciate you.
We are.
Can we say we are if we're not alum? How does that work? I don't want to be a Penn State fake alum.
There's plenty of room.
Yeah, she's a LaSalle Hall of Famer. Of course she's not going to say
Not saying we are.
I would actually be a little bit mad at you if you did.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I mean, LaSalle doesn't have a thing. So
I'm a fan of Tyler, so I'll say we are.
Okay. There you go. All right, Tyler, it's been a pleasure having you here. As always, love your great work. You're just adding more beats to your repertoire, more shows to your repertoire that you're going to be a part of. John Mark's show, the Penn State show, of course, our Phillies show. So we'll see you soon.
Yeah, awesome job today. I've really enjoyed the show. Some great guests. You guys have been awesome. So I'll talk to you all in about 20 minutes. See
you soon, Tyler.
See you guys.
All right, everybody in the chat, make sure that you guys are excited to check out our Penn State show. We've got new shows coming up because it's a great time right now at PHLY. I know you guys are talking through Rutgers. They whooped Howard 44-7 yesterday. Ethan Kalakamanis, I'm so sorry, I just said his last name incorrectly, with 3 passing touchdowns on the day. Fantastic for 147 yards. You had touchdowns from Kyle Monagle. Antoine Raymond had a rushing touchdown. Everybody was scoring for the Scarlet Knights. And for college football, it's been a fun time right now. Not only because we have the kickoff of the football season, but also I've been keeping track on some of the NIL news, and I just want to give you guys some numbers before we get into our final segment here on the show today, because this 2 hours is flying by. With all that's going on in college football, there's also a lot going on with the NIL. And if you want to take a lucky guess at who the top 5 or the top highest paid college football players are for NIL, do you have an idea of players or even schools? Andrew, I'll even open this up to you. What schools do you think, conferences, schools, players, what are your guesses for top 5 NIL across college football?
I mean, I would have to put Georgia and Alabama in there in the top 5, right?
Okay.
Some of their players.
Okay. There is an Alabama in the top 5. And Alabama.
Does Colorado get in there?
Ding, 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 ding.
That was another one
With
of
that
my
Nike,
guesses.
that
Oh,
new
yeah.
Nike deal?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta get the best players.
So Colorado, and you want to talk about recruiting. I know we talked about it with Brad. How about this for recruiting? 4 of the top 20 players in college football for NIL deals are from Colorado. 2 of the top 3 are from Colorado. The SEC also has their number. They've got the most by any conference in the top 20 with 9. Top 5 for NIL, and here's how much. And this makes me, I'm so happy for these players, but I graduated college 10 years ago, and as a D1 soccer player that was very good as an All-American and a Hall of Famer, I would have loved an opportunity to get some NIL deals, but it's fine. We should have got grandfathered in. So here's number 5. I should have got a grandfathered in NIL deal. Number 5. Quinn Ewers from Texas, $1.7 million. Where's mine? Jalen Milroe from Alabama, also $1.7 million. Travis Hunter, by no surprise, not only running around all over North Dakota State, but also running around these NIL deals and running up checks. $2.7 million for him. And the man that has not played a single snap, 0 games at Texas, has an NIL valuation of $3.1 million. He's a Manning. Need we say less? Arch Manning, probably not going to be in the NFL. Doesn't need to be in the NFL at this point. One of the highest paid, not only just for football, but across all athletes. He's top for all athletes. I don't have that number where he's stacked, but I remember reading it before, and it was like mind-boggling. 0 games at Texas. Good for him, though. He's got plenty of bread coming his way. And then number 1, Shedeur Sanders is $4.7 million for Sanders. He is now a Nike athlete, just like his dad, like father, like son. $4.7 million rolling around. I saw him at Howard, that wasn't a Howard. It was at an HBCU game, at a game, watching a basketball game. And this kid, whatever happens in the future for his career, I'm excited for him, but he is capitalizing big time on where college sports are at right now. And I'm a little jealous.
It's an interesting wrinkle to college sports now that we have to talk about.
It is. I definitely love this for athletes because schools make so much money off of them with jersey sales and ticket sales. And, you look at the donors and everything, but ultimately, this is a lot of money being raked in for these players.
I hate to be that old head too, but I really do hope there's education going on with this as well, because Renee, I'm just going to speak for myself. Myself at 18, 19, 20, that money's getting blown quickly. I'm buying the car.
What are you buying first?
I'm buying the jewelry, right? I'm trying to get dripped out.
Wait, what are you buying first?
Me?
What are you buying first? If you get an NIL deal, you get a check. What is the first thing you're spending it on?
Sports cars.
Cars, okay.
Tons of cars.
The cars, okay.
Classic cars, sports cars. I'm having a huge garage. Boats.
I think I would make sure I have
boats and hose?
Yeah.
I was just watching Step Brothers the other day.
The best gaming.
Boats and hose.
Great scene.
The best gaming setup money could buy.
I definitely try to make sure I get that nice little condo down in some downtown city.
Oh, you're
get
going
the living
responsible.
situation. Well, because listen, my first apartment, 20 was not the best. So I'm just thinking of myself at 20, what I really would. I've never been a huge car guy. Obviously I'm gonna get a nice luxurious car, but I'm not gonna be like Frazier with my 5 sports cars in the garage.
Well, you don't want a Camaro?
I want a Mustang.
Like Mustang
I
Shelby?
would love a Mustang. That's my dream car. I
Yeah.
need to be
Nissan Skyline?
revving up that loud engine of a Mustang. At 20, I think that's when, did I buy my first car at 20 or 21? Either way, around that time, I bought my first car, had to get my parents to co-sign on it, like every other kid that comes from a non-wealthy family. My parents had a co-sign on it, and I drove a Honda Civic. And I was excited because my very first car that my parents let me drive
Super reliable.
had the roll-up windows. It was that Kia Spectra. It was like 20 years old. Roll-up windows. Nothing was automatic. Everything was manual. Locks, no radio. I had the little cassette tape. This is not that long ago, by the way. I didn't have a CD player. I had a cassette tape thing. So I definitely think I would have bought myself a nice car. Maybe, I don't know if I would have went for that Mustang just yet. Young me probably would have went for it. Responsible me now in my 30s would not have wanted to drive that Mustang because...
Yeah, I definitely would have taken care of mom too. I always been a mama's boy.
And you know what? I think I'd just be traveling. I travel now, but I'd really be out in these streets traveling. Like you'd catch me on an island, you'd catch me on a boat, on a plane. I'd be out and about. I don't know what you guys would be at, what you'd be doing.
Spring break would not be the same.
But I'd be all over outside. Prestige worldwide. I'd be out here like a Catalina wine mixer. Yes. So I love that. But let's get into our final discussion because we do have to talk through some plans around fantasy football. And it's with the NFL season less than a week away. Time is ticking for fantasy football leagues. We've got Kevin Allen, the geek, joining us here on the show. Kevin, what's up? Happy Friday. And
hey, it's that time. It's that season. Excited.
It is. Now, Kevin, I wouldn't be doing my job right if I didn't first mention my own fantasy team for baseball is top in the baseball league. I always make fun here at PHLY because I've got like the best fantasy baseball team here outside of Zach Berman. And we're now in the playoffs, and we're winning round one of the playoffs. So if people want to have that kind of success with their football team for fantasy football, who's maybe a sleeper they can keep an eye on? There's some names I've been reading out there. Who's someone that you think is a sleeper to be a lock and a great pick for your fantasy football draft?
Sleepers depend on the size of your league and a lot of that. But I'm getting excited about Xavier Worthy as an example. He has looked spectacular. Tyreek Hill 2.0, you're getting him outside of the part of the draft where people are drafting starters. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. Anytime you see Mahomes tied into a player that can take the top off the defense, just expect some monster plays out of Xavier Worthy this season. I'm really liking the whole rookie class of wide receivers. So I'd throw Malik Neighbors into that mix as well. I think he's going in round 5. He probably belongs in round 3 or 2. And I think next year you're taking Malik Neighbors in round 1. So those are some of the names I'm really excited by at wide receiver this year. And I'll call them sleepers because they have that ability to be taken kind of late in your draft, but move their way up. We want you to dominate your fantasy league as well against the network boys. So I think hope they're not listening.
And Neighbors definitely going to get those targets. So I definitely see where you're coming from with that pick there. But let's focus on the good team. Obviously you're a Jets fan, but obviously here we're all Eagles people, right?
We all bleed green together.
Exactly. We go through some pains. Yeah. So obviously, look, there's a lot of hype with this offense, right? I mean, Jalen Hurts is stacked with weapons to kind of facilitate there. For you, it's in a PPR league, who do you like the most out of Saquon, Devontae, A.J. Brown for your team?
Yeah, listen, we love them all.
Right.
Jalen Hurts did not have the monster fantasy season last year, maybe that we were hoping for, but he had a very, very good fantasy season, and the tush push continues to sort of dominate the scoring for him. But I think this year he'll get a lot more done with his arm with this group of weapons. A.J. Brown still kind of going right at the end of round 1 or the beginning of round 2. Perfectly belongs there. And you didn't mention Deshaun Jackson 2.0, Jahan Dotson, who's now with.
Oh, you like that? Like Dotson?
You know what?
Okay.
His role fits the team so perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a guy who's going to be regularly involved, but you know what? I don't want to mention the names of the WR3s in the past, but it's an upgrade over what's been at that position for the Eagles significantly. Like, this guy's a touchdown scorer. That's what he does. He tracks the ball deep and puts it in the end zone. And I think you're going to see some deep bombs to Dotson, though that might not be fantasy relevant, but it'll help Hurts certainly, and it will also open things up under the middle for a Goddard or even Barkley out of the backfield.
Interesting. So that being said, who are some guys that you feel like at all costs maybe you should avoid? Maybe they're injury plagued. Maybe they're guys that aren't going to just give you a lot of fantasy points. Because something that I know I've been paying very close attention to is you can be a good player. It doesn't always mean you're going to be a good player for fantasy leagues. Like there's a different type of player that's getting you fantasy points. Who do you feel like is a guy first on the Eagles that maybe isn't someone they should highlight, but then also around the league, some names as well?
I really like all the Eagles. I'm not going to down on any. I have a ton of Barkley exposure. I'm not coming on Eagles radio to disparage those guys, but there are players to avoid in your fantasy rosters that I think are going a little higher than maybe they should. And it's more for me about ADP. So who do I like against their average draft? Because I'll take anybody. It doesn't matter, but it depends where they're going. And I'll give you some names. Right off the bat, some names that I like to avoid because I think they're going a little bit too high. Straight up is just the wide receivers from Houston. And the issue, they've been going really high. Now, Nico Collins goes the top of round 2. And then you've got Stephon Diggs going in round 3 and Tank Dell in round 4. And I'm going, wait, there's 3 guys over there? I don't know how all 3 of them can produce consistently because there's just too many of them. My biggest avoid on the season, and it's not a high name, but it's Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. And I'm going to tell you what I don't like about him. Reed was only a 60% market share. He was only on the field about 60% of the snaps last year. And that was with Christian Watson effectively out the whole season. Christian Watson comes back. Romeo Doubs is the guy who's getting 95% of the snaps. So if Doubs is out there all the time and Christian Watson is out there all the time, what's going on with Jaden Reed? He's going in round 5. He's going in before Xavier Worthy, before Ladd McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr., all these young wide receivers that have the potential to really make a splash. I hate Jaden Reed. I have zero exposure to him. That's just one of those wide receivers that I think people are really, really wrong about in the fantasy community. So we'll see. I might have egg in my face, but that's kind of how I'm looking at him.
I like it.
Hey, Kevin, this is Andrew. I'm kind of the voice of God here today. This is kind of a personal question. You were just talking about Houston and their wide receivers. Now I want to talk about the guy who's throwing the ball, C.J. Stroud. I drafted him on my team. I am a Stroud boy. Can you talk about C.J., kind of like what the year he might have, and then any other quarterbacks we should keep an eye on?
Yes, quarterback I think is where you can really gain an edge on most leagues on your competition by not taking one of the early ones and being brave enough to wait a little bit. So speaking of Stroud, Stroud, spectacular. I mean, he is a breakout guy last season. We all love CJ Stroud, and he looks like a great real life quarterback. Does not run the football a ton, and I don't think he's a difference maker in fantasy. So he's not somebody, I'm happy to have him, but I don't really feel that different about him than I do about Dak Prescott, or I kind of think they're the same thing. Sure. All of the pocket guys kind of fall in the same category of probably not going to get you more than 25 fantasy points most weeks, but CJ Stroud being a great real life player, I'm sure he'll throw for a lot of touchdowns. But the strategy at quarterback is always be on the late side of taking one and try to get an upside guy. And then I'll pair him up with sort of what I call a yeoman-like guy. So I'll give you the names here. If I can get Anthony Richardson in round 5 or round 6 of my draft, and he usually goes there, sometimes behind CJ, I'd much rather have Anthony Richardson. And I don't think Richardson's a better quarterback, to be very, very clear. I think I would, if I'm making a franchise today, I'm taking Stroud. But in fantasy, Richardson just can't produce less than 20 fantasy points in a game. Like, he doesn't even have it in him because he runs the ball so much that if he's efficient, he's going to turn it over a couple times. We don't care. He's running the football. So that's a guy I'm waiting on. And since he's a running quarterback, he's an injury risk. I just pick up Brock Purdy as my QB 13 or Tua or any one of these guys that are falling out of the top 12. Your league mates aren't taking a second quarterback. You just take one a little bit earlier, get a really good one to back up a Richardson. I'm going to give a second name. that you can get effectively almost the last quarterback taken as a starter, and that's Jaden McDaniels on the Commanders. Now, no one likes the Commanders offense. You know, they stink, right? Sorry.
They do.
Right, we're in Philly. Well, we hate the Commanders.
Yeah, like they really do. It's fine. It's
Let's
fact.
rip the Commanders, right?
We're not lying. It's the truth.
Yeah, they do kind of stink too. But with that being said, Jaden McDaniels, I don't like his weapon group, but he's a running quarterback. And we saw with Justin Fields, and we've seen with all these other guys, that when they put the game together and they're running a lot, they don't have to be good. They could just, they're getting 10 fantasy points from their legs. So all you need to really do is throw for 13 fantasy points, which is a bad quarterback, and you're getting a 23. And we want anything 20 and up. We feel good about our quarterback spot. So you can get a Jaden McDaniels if you miss on Richardson as their last pick. You might be saying, well, I feel so much better with Hurts there. And I get it, but I'll give you the example. You have to take Jalen Hurts in round 2. Right. So I'm taking Jaden McDaniels in round 9. So what's the difference between a running back in round 2 and round 9? Well, now we just went from Saquon Barkley on our team to, Jaylen Warren or a backup running back for a team. The massive positional advantage you gain by waiting on quarterback is worth waiting for.
So I have a question then, and I know Andrew's got another question for you. My quick question is just, so what position do you think it's very important to get the first string? QB 1, receiver 1, rushing back 1 versus maybe waiting to draft a position later? Like, is there a position you feel like is more important to draft earlier versus others?
Of course, positional scarcity is king in the NFL.
Of course.
Right? And the one position, or fantasy football, not in the NFL. So the one position where there's just not that many great players is running back. So if I'm early in my draft, I don't care what the ADP says on the site that I'm on. If Christian McCaffrey, if Breece Hall, if Bijan Robinson are there, they should be taken effectively above all other players. You could make an argument for CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill. Those are the only 2 players that are even in that discussion for those 3 running backs. And then again, I want people to really favor jumping ADP for a guy like Jonathan Taylor in the middle of round 1. You really want a stud running back anchoring your team if you can get one. So that is the philosophy. Your league mates probably already know it, unfortunately. But even in a PPR league, you want to get a true stud running back. Now, if you don't get that guy and you end up with Hill or CeeDee Lamb, great. Those guys are pretty good too. And then you can, but in round 2 at that point, you really need the second half of the top 12 running backs. You take a Pacheco or a Derrick Henry or a Saquon or an Achane or a Kyren Williams, all round 2 running backs. You just need, so if I start with wide receiver in round 1, I'm pairing that with one of those names that I just mentioned, including like an Achane who can elevate himself to the top guy, or Kyren Williams who drops a little bit because people just aren't confident that he's going to do the same as he did last year. But why not? He did it last year. Why can't he do it again? Like, there's no real reason why we're not confident on that.
Oh, that makes complete sense. And honestly, great insight that you've been able to jump in and share with those tuning in, because it's difficult drafting. As you mentioned, it's not always about the most talented player. It's strategic. You want to make sure you have every position. You want to make sure you have depth. You want to make sure you also have guys that you can get the most value out of. Talent in a game doesn't always translate to fantasy points. So we appreciate you so much for taking time to join us today and sharing your thoughts and insights, Kevin, here on The Gargano Show.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, well, there you have it. Some updates for you. The Anthony Gargano Show gives you all the details of what you need to prepare for the upcoming season, for the NFL, for college football, for looking at the remainder of the regular season and into playoffs for baseball. And it's been a fun Friday with you guys. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for all the love in the chat. We appreciate it. And as we wrap up, I just want to make sure you guys are checking out all the work that our great guests are doing, from Bo Wulf to Brad Feinberg to Jim Salsbury, Tyler Zulli, Kevin the Geek Allen. Tremendous work that they're doing in their respective lanes. Make sure you're giving them a follow, and make sure you're checking out all we've got going on, because we'll be back on Tuesday. That's right. We are off on Monday for Labor Day. Everyone gets to enjoy a nice 3-day weekend. So do we. We will see you guys back. Cuz will be back.
Yes.
I had some big shoes to fill, but he'll be back returning. And for you guys, make sure you're ready to tune in to the Anthony Gargano Show Tuesday, 9 a.m. for more here with Andrew, JP, VG, and Cuz. For us today, that'll do it. Have a good weekend. Let's go Phillies. Let's go all Philly sports. We'll see what happens with Penn State, depending on if you're cheering for them. And we will see you guys next time here on the Anthony Gargano Show. Have a fantastic weekend and see you guys soon. Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.